Okay. Он у вас спросит, по-моему, вы должны будете ответить.
Да,
Okay.
конечно, сейчас. Мгм.
Самое главное, что нужно понять, это что не вас отвергают. Right? Отвергают или не обращают внимания на ваше резюме. Это не то, чтобы вы не подходите им. Они просто не знают, что вы подходите. It's easy for me to speak English.
It's fine.
Okay, all right, okay. So they're not rejecting you. They don't know you. They have no idea who you are. In a lot of cases, their resume doesn't even get to a recruiter, let alone hiring manager. So that's the problem. So there are several gates. One is to get your resume to the point where it will pass through the filters. Number two is having it pass through a recruiter and then pass through the hiring manager, and that's when the real interview work starts. But you cannot get there without passing those gates. Your resume is good, but it's also exactly the same as everybody else's that are submitting their resume. So you are listing what you were hired to do, right? So we know that that's what you were doing, but were you good at it? How do you stand out from the crowd? How do you stand out from other flood of resumes that are hitting the same system? And now things I don't want to scare you or freak you out, but with the remote first mentality, you're not only competing with people in your area, you're competing with people from the entire country. That makes it even harder. But there are several things that you can do immediately to get to the quantum level that will get you ahead of, I would say, 80% of the candidates. Let me start by asking, when you think about the work you do in the past several years, can you think of a moment where you felt energized? You felt like you were doing your best work. You felt like time stops and you're just doing something that is consuming your entire attention span. It doesn't have to be work. It can be anything else. But what are those moments? It's psychologists call it flow. What were the moments where you felt your best? So at the end of the day, or at the end of the project, or at the end of a conversation, you felt elated or you felt good about yourself.
I see.
Can you think of several examples of? Give me one. And again, it doesn't have to be work. It just like anything that makes you feel your best.
Yeah, but we'll get back to this point later because that's the exact approach I was actually following, adding a couple of points to that last job I had, following this exact hint tip from recruiters where I use the word slashed the time, and that was true. And so to show a couple of those achievements. So to add to that, there were definitely a lot of moments when I felt on the rise and when I felt good about what I do. For example, when we would submit a project, when we would launch a project, let's say 1 minute before the deadline, when by all the predictions, it was not going to happen. And the client was, for example, already notified by the PM that, sorry, it's not going to happen today, but we working together closely as a team, everybody involved, developers and QAs, we managed to do it. And that's an amazing feeling of accomplishment. And there were tons of those. Another example of something that makes me feel good about my job, and not only because job has always been an inseparable part of me, no matter what I do, is when I that's some vanity talks in me, but that's what it is. I'm an ambitious person. I like to be praised. I like to be spoken of in good way, and I like when my job is recognized, and I like to, but at the same time, I've never been the best. I've never been the top of class. I've never been so, and I've never tried to be the best of the best, but I just like to be acknowledged for what I do. That's the point. And so it's like moderate level of vanity in me. And so a work-related example would be one that I actually put on my resume in my last, describing my last position, where I don't remember. I have a couple of versions, of course, more than a couple of my resumes floating around on my computer, because I customize them all the time. But there's definitely somewhere a point where I mentioned that I took over all the QA documentation for the project, and that was true, because when I joined the project, that was a total mess. There was no centered QA related documentation. Everything was scattered. It was a mess. So I organized it. I compiled what was missing. I made some decks. I made some documents. I put up together a deck for onboarding for new QAs. I made up a lot of other put together a lot of other missing pieces of the project documentation, not only QA persistent. And I that was like my baby. I was really taking good care of that little project of mine within that big project. So maintaining and updating and adding constantly something to that QA deck, QA folder. And I think that's a big one, because yeah.
So let me jump in. First of all, it has nothing to do with vanity. There is a tremendous body of work in social psychology and organizational behavior that demonstrates that the true motivation is not money or title. It is the job itself. It's the sense that you are making a difference, that something that you do matters. So that is the most important aspect. All the others will, if you don't have those, they will make you unhappy. But the salary, the title will not make you happy. What will make you happy is exactly what you just described. It's not just being praised, it's being recognized, because your contribution matters, that what you do matters.
Верхняя планка пирамиды Маслова, да.
Yeah, well, maybe not like the very top, but yes, it is about, well,
I think it's the top one, but anyway.
Well, self-actualization, yes, but it's not the matter of self, right?
Yeah.
It's the top of the pyramid is self-actualization, but it's about people recognizing you. So it's more of a societal organizational recognition. So you're being part of the whole that is bigger than any individual together, right? So it's making the work that is meaningful, not in a vacuum, not like the Sisyphus who was rolling his boulder up the hill and then it was full. That was work. But in fact, Sartre said that you should imagine Sisyphus happy, but in reality, there was nobody there to recognize him for the work that he did. And that's the most important thing that was missing for the poor guy. So it is very easy to lose track of that and get into the kind of the sensation of not being needed, not being recognized, because it's exactly the opposite, right? And in the job search, we face that on a daily basis. If you're sending 20 resumes a day and you're not getting a job offer, that's the 20 opportunities that you may have missed. But it's not a failure, it's not you. And it's about being able to communicate your value to the potential employer. And you have this value. And my question wasn't accidental. So what you just told me, if you can write it down, or actually you don't even have to write it down because I'm recording, so you will get a transcript. Make a note, make several post-it notes and just put them in visible spaces so you remind yourself about those moments of joy that the work brings. Think of several more. And that's your affirmation, because you know what it feels like to do a good work. You don't have to be the best. You have to be happy with yourself, right? So it's, unless you have the kind of the foundational psychological health in order, it will get more and more difficult. So I just want to encourage you to be kind to yourself and not consider 20 resumes to be a failure. Having said that, I don't know that you necessarily need to send 20 resumes a day, because it's not a numbers game. A lot of people say that, oh, resume is a numbers game, but that's not correct, because you don't need 20 jobs, you need one. And to get that one, you need to get much more thoughtful about an application. You said that they're all pretty much the same, so it's easy to, but the job requirements may be the same, but the companies are not the same. So when they're asking for something, for a specific skill or specific competency, they are not necessarily asking for the same thing. So it's dependent on the vertical, it's dependent on the customer base, it's dependent on the company culture, it's depending on the company history, it's dependent on competition. So there's a lot of moving pieces, and it may take twice the time to do it right, but then you will get what you want. Sending 20 almost identical resumes is not helping you stand out from the crowd. And the thing is, you need to stand out from the crowd.
But with any other job, I would probably be saying the same, because I would, in my past life, when I had a job and everything was stable, I would also give people advice, but more from language perspective, because that's what I do. That's what I've done all my life, basically, before I switched gears and switched to QA, to IT. And I don't basically do only QA there, but I still keep teaching and more since COVID, more kind of mentoring. I don't like the word coach, but anyways, so if we were talking about any other job, I would definitely agree with you 200%. But with this particular position, and I'm not talking about, I don't know if you saw my email, but I said that I'm actually targeting like two directions, more technical one with quality assurance, and the one that is more content oriented, which is more
your content related link did not come through. When I clicked on it, it didn't lead anywhere.
It's fine. So what I'm trying to say is that if we're talking about the QA one, so it's about 500, 700 applications momentarily that comes through for any position that pops up. So with all the logics applied, I still came to realize that in this case, in this particular case, talking about QA, unfortunately, number is crucial. So it's like it has to go like both ways. It has to be and quality and quantity oriented, because you somehow you gotta become a superhero and be able to send 20. Everybody who I've been talking to, everybody says 20, it's a minimum. So 20, it's a minimum. It has to be 30, 40 applications a day, because there are so many positions, but the applicants are much more. And as I said, I'm not exaggerating. So
I know. I'm not new to this.
Hundreds. I have some screenshots when from LinkedIn when the position just came up like 20-30 minutes ago, and I have those screenshots with 700, 800, 1,000 applicants for a position. So I as I said, you kind of have to become a superhero to be able to customize and make every resume work good, look good for each of those, and at the same time be able to do as many as you can.
Right.
So and that's why it's kind of tricky. And yeah.
It's a balance. Like if you spend the whole day handcrafting the perfect Pulitzer winning piece of prose,
Yeah, you can do that.
you cannot do that. But sending 300 identical or nearly identical resume that look exactly like 700 others is not working either. So we need to find a balance. And
that's what I'm trying to do. And
right.
I see that something is wrong.
Well, it's not wrong, but let me scroll back to what I said before. You have done all these things, but are you good at them? How can you prove that you're good? And only focusing on the two most recent positions, because you cannot spend that time on. So let me look at so the content situation is, as I'm sure you know, is very challenging because nobody. I noticed that in some corporate like major companies, they're not even listing Russian as one of the localized languages on their website.
No, I'm not targeting the localization, the translation kind of jobs. I know the situation with Russian. I don't work with Russian per se.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Localization, technical, the content management.
Okay. Yeah.
That's technical part.
The reason I'm saying that is that I have several clients that have been exclusively doing the Russian localization, and now they're in a lot of pain.
No.
Yeah. So that's good. But let's pick one. I know you said that your preference and your interest is content. So let's focus on that. So
I don't want to focus on content because I'm more confident there, because that's when I haven't had many interviews. I've had just 2 interviews for content because the positions are less.
Right.
The particular positions I want is the one I sent you the link. I'm not sure why it's not working. I might try resending it to you. So, but that's the part where I think I'm okay. There's just not that much offer there, and I just have to keep sending. But I'm still targeting, and it pays less. And I'm still targeting QA field because there are positions where I could definitely again apply my content knowledge as well. For example, like my previous position where I was working for 4 years. Performing greatly. All my evaluations were top notch. I have excellent references. I still keep in touch with all my team. They miss me. We cried when I was leaving. And that was the best team and the best job in my life. And of course, I dream of finding something even a little bit close to that. And it was a perfect job because that's where I could combine all my skills, my newly acquired technical skills, my more recent skills, and my lifelong linguistic skills working with content, like 50% if we can put it like that. So it was 50% technical and 50% content work. So content verification, I don't want to go into much detail, but yeah, so it was an ideal job for me, for what I know, for what I can, for what I've been trained to do. There are jobs like that, not many, but they are there. So I'm applying for everything that is just somehow applicable to me. And again, as far as I understand, as far as I hear, people are suggesting applying for jobs that have at least 50% match of your skills. I go even beyond that. I try to see about 70% match with my skills. I only skip those I'm sorry, those positions that are very technical. So I just don't go that bold and don't apply. However, I hear people are just encouraging other people to apply even for those. I'm not that bold. I'm not that brave. I don't want to позориться at the technical interview.
Yeah.
So
there is a hierarchy there. It's not a matter of 50% or 70%. It's the matter of the match to what is most important for them. You can have 70% match with the elements of the job description that are not critical to success. You have to understand and distill the job description and understand the company so you can identify what are those top 5 things that are really important to them. And you have to match those. And then you put in effort. And it's, again, they are not the same for everybody. It will be slightly different, but if you can put an effort in understanding what those top 5 areas are and looking at the match there, it doesn't matter that you may not have other things. These are not the critical. Like, what are those 5 or 6 critical elements? And then you spend time to rearrange your resume so that your top achievements match the top 5 areas of interest. And that brings me to the accomplishments. It's not, it doesn't matter if we're looking at the content specialist resume or the QA resume. Because the principle is the same. It's not what you did, but how did you add value to the company and to the team, to the customer.
Yeah, but again, I don't know. So with all my research skills and my inquisitiveness and everything, I am struggling with this question of yours because I haven't heard any QA being able to answer this question because there is no measurable there is no measurable achievement that you can present. Your job is, a product manager can boast with some achievement. A developer can show
And
their portfolio.
I am super familiar with this.
Okay.
In fact, I was married to a QA person, so
What's the measurable part
see,
then?
there is a qualitative and a quantitative. So you cannot say, as a product manager would say, the product achieved 25% uptick in renewals or whatnot, or the salesperson can say, oh, that they exceeded the, but there is a qualitative measure, like, were your coworkers happy with the results you produced? Were you doing something that made customers use the product easier or call support less? And it's not something that you have to, go to court and swear and say that this is the chain of evidence. It is more of a emotional and qualitative. Qualitative, not quantitative. It's not about the numbers, it's about the value that you add. And you can think about it. And to my career consulting clients that I work with, I recommend that they start they call it a me folder. So every time they hear some positive feedback from someone, they put it in that folder, online, obviously, not. Every time they get some recognition from someone, the lines on your performance assessment, any mention in a meeting, somebody gave you some positive feedback. You just saw that your work matters, right? And people recognized it. So those little pieces of recognition, even if it's an email of, like, good job, all of that you accumulate, and that's how you create your qualitative feedback. So you can say that your QA testing reduced, I just improvising, reduce the number of the repeat bugs release over release, or you have been singled out as one of the.
I have exactly the same, not exactly, but I have this line on my resume that I applied automation tool where it was not required. Well, it's I can talk about it longer, but I can't put this whole story, but I can definitely tell a story, and that was true and how it happened. Just one example, how I applied an automation tool to shorten the allotted testing time.
Mhm.
And I even have the number how like from, I don't remember what I put there, like from 2 weeks to 2 hours, and that was true. And then that but and I mentioned that, and
Right.
when they ask questions like
But
this,
they
I
will not get to ask you the question unless the resume shows them.
but it's there, this line is there.
Uh, it
But
is there, but it's not standing out enough for people to notice. So you have it's like, I don't know, 6 or 7 or 10.
yeah, but should like every line be this kind of
No, no.
achievement
There are
without
two separate things. One is job responsibilities, and that should be a very, very short paragraph. It doesn't have to be detailed at all. It's just a short paragraph. It's a distilled job description, like greatly distilled.
Mhm.
And then everything else is accomplishments. The fact that you worked with multiple diverse teams around the clock, multiple time zones, does it matter for this particular company? That's is it the key requirement for them?
It matters because this requirement to work with multiple time zones across multiple time zones usually goes within like first 5 job responsibilities.
In that case, you should put it on top and not.
I move it around. I move it around. I mean, no, your advice is so precious, but it's just something that I kind of know. But you're suggesting that I should divide and make it, instead of bullet points, I should make it job description and job accomplishments, or like.
Well, it's the I can send you a template that I personally find very useful. That you have there's a lot of words,
Okay.
and nobody is reading words, right?
Maybe.
It's like people will spend 7 seconds. So and those precious 7 seconds
Mm-hmm.
is super strategic. So you have to hit them with your single most important. What is the single most important reason why they should hire you? Like one. It's not your ability to work across multiple time zones.
I
That's
will
kind of
find, I will find every bug
right.
that's there. So
Okay, well that's a good one. But the multiple time zones is the table stakes. It is kind of a given, like who will not work across multiple time zones? So you're wasting this precious time, precious real estate on the page by writing something that is not impactful. Every single word matters. So you should have fewer words and much more impactful words. You're a linguist. I'm, by the way, я тоже филолог по образованию. So I know about words more than a lot of people. So every single word has to be strategically picked to be just the right word for that one company. And that's why I'm saying it requires effort. My recommendation is this. You create one, and maybe you already have that. So if I'm saying something that you already know, just excuse me because I don't know you.
No.
You put everything in the kitchen sink into one master resume that has an accomplishment against each of the areas that you worked on. And accomplishments, again, it's not just the numbers. It's delivered this or found every single bug. I love that. You can put it as your tagline. I will find every single bug. No, seriously, it's a message. When I was long time ago, I was in a kind of career funk. I couldn't quite figure out what to do next. I was at a conference. As I said, I work in technical support. And I was talking to a colleague at the opening reception. And I said, well, I am kind of not sure where to move. He said, what are you best at? I said, well, I create world-class technical support teams. And he said, I can throw this cocktail olive in this room and it will hit somebody who says that that's exactly what they do. They create world-class technical support teams. There is nobody in this room who is not creating world-class technical support team because it's a conference of technical support leadership. But what is it that you do that nobody else does? What are you best at? And how you can succinctly say it, and that would be your leading line, that will be your tagline, that will be your elevator pitch. So it was a big aha moment for me. And I went back and I asked myself the question that I asked you at the beginning: what in my work resonated with me so much that I felt great about myself? So it took me like several days, if not weeks, of very deep introspection and looking at all my past jobs and what worked, what not. And I came up with this tagline: I create conditions for success. And it is understood very broadly. It's a condition for success for my team that I manage. It's a condition for success for the customers of my company. It's a condition for success for my team, for my company, or any other combination of events. In my consulting career strategy, it's creating conditions for success for my clients. This is one thing that I'm really exceptionally good at, much better than anybody else. So finding that one thing and just being able to deliver it in a way that is impactful and meaningful, that will get through the ocean of noise that all the other resumes, because they are all the same. I have reviewed enough resumes in my life. Very few stand out, but the ones that do stand out, these are the best people to hire. And they may not be like the superstars, because you don't need just superstars. You need people who are doing a really good quality work and enjoy doing that high quality work, as you are, right? So in a line, in a bullet point, looking at the job description of the job that you really liked or similar, what do you think is the most important thing that you bring to the table that will set you aside from everybody else? You have this unique combination of technical and linguistic. You have different understanding, different perspective. You are, by nature, by who you are multinational, so you understand culture and you can work with people who are different, different social areas. I'm just speculating, but that's probably who, what is one of the reasons for your success. So what are those things? What are those nuggets that you can pull out and almost like force feed them to anyone reading your resume? And it has to hit them immediately, not at the end of the paragraph, not at the end of the 10-point bullet list. So what is the most important for this job? And you have to understand the company. What is important for that company? Like, where are they in their life cycle? What are they struggling with? What keeps their CEO up at night? And it's not something that you can do, 300 times a day for 300 companies to apply for, right? So you can do a lot, you can put in a lot of work and send out 300 resumes, but that's like boiling the ocean. So instead, focusing on you and your unique value that you bring to the table, that's the most important thing you can do. And you have multiple areas like that. You're not like a one hit wonder, right? You have multiple areas where you're really good at, where you feel good about yourself, but what of those is relevant to that particular company for that particular position, for the place where that company is in? Are they in decline? Are they struggling? Are they on the uptick? Did they catch the wave and are doing something that's like super important and popular? Do they have a group of executives that just follow each other from one company to another? So they have this like really well developed team cohesion on the high level, and that tells you something about the company culture. So you have to do some research.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yes.
Right. And gain intelligence. You have at your disposal the network of that Facebook group. So it's not asking for a referral per se, it's asking for some insight into a company. Like, do you know anybody at Apple who will refer me? It's not the right question to ask. Do you know anybody at Apple that I can spend 15 minutes on a chat or email and get answers to some really important questions? Like, what are the qualities that they value? What are the qualities that they that makes into the most successful? Well, like, what's the success profile for the best employees? And it is very different. It is very different. So something that would make a person super successful in one place would be of absolutely no interest, if not detrimental to another company. And if you walk in with this sales pitch, because your resume is a sales pitch, to somebody who has different requirements, but they're not articulated, right? You have to analyze the text and ideally ask people, but if not, there is a lot of stuff you can do through research online. Just spending, I don't know, 30 minutes researching a company and then rearranging your resume so that you have the first 3 bullet points are the kill shots.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you. Yeah, that's good insight.
So my recommendation is to make this one master document, master resume that has everything. It has examples, maybe several ideally for each of the lines. And then when you apply to a particular company, you just pull out something that's relevant to them. And that will be for them. If you're not using cover letter, you should, because your cover letter is your second chance at making that first impression.
For QA, it's very rarely you even have where to upload it, but for content positions, yes.
If there is an opportunity, which is why I never recommend people to apply through LinkedIn, because LinkedIn doesn't give you an option to apply on the company. What's it called? Quick apply. It just takes your LinkedIn profile or the resume and sends it, but it doesn't give you an opportunity to put an additional word through the cover letter. You can also reach out, obviously not for a job that has 20,000 applicants, but maybe for the content, reaching out to the hiring manager, reaching out to the recruiter directly, and making that pitch. Again, it's your 3 kill shots.
Is it still a legit thing, cover letter? Because they're like controversial.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is.
The hiring managers still read those.
If it gets to them, yes. But at the very least, the recruiter will read it.
So, I mean, somebody will read it if it's there, yes?
They may.
I even heard such an opinion that it might even be like a flow rather than advantage for your application, because overload for a recruiter.
Well, if it's overloading, they will not read it.
Okay.
But it's your one extra bonus shot, so why not use it if there is an option to do this? There is no guarantee that any human person will read it, unfortunately, which is another reason why you have to analyze the keywords in the company profile, not the job description, but the company profile, the company the way the company talks about themselves. Like, what are the keywords in there? And that's where like ChatGPT is a really good resource to like summarize this. I did a webinar several months ago on for the several groups, including the LenaSorokina, on using AI in the job search. So if you're interested, I can find the recording and send it to you.
Yes, please. I missed it.
There is a recording somewhere. I'll find it. So I just interrupted my own train of thought. There is no guarantee that any person will read it, but the more you can do to maximize this, the better. Do not use the white text hack. That's a kiss of death.
The what? I'm sorry.
The white text.
What is that?
Okay, it's good that you don't know. If you don't know what, so people are trying to cram keywords into their resume. So they put the keywords and make them white font. So the system, allegedly, the system will read them and rank the resume higher, but the recruiter will not see it and get annoyed by all those keywords, except that doesn't work for a variety of reasons.
What's the balance of the keywords and not to overuse those? So how, like, because I don't use it, obviously. It was something that you mentioned, because I'm still old school. I do it myself. Yeah, so I use AI a little bit, but just a little bit, it's a helping tool.
It's a tool. It's a tool. What you don't want to do is have AI run this thing for you.
We've been using translation tools since the beginning of time.
It's so much more evolved now. But
the balance.
AI is only as good as the question you're asking of it. But one of the things that I recommended in my lecture is to I'll just say ChatGPT because that's what I use primarily, the job description, and ask what are the top 5 qualifications that would be important for this company. I would give them the text of some, like maybe an interview with their CEO that was published somewhere, and ask the similar question, like what is the most important for the CEO of the company? What are the strategic imperatives that the company is facing? And then you feed it your resume and say, like, what in my background would be the most attractive elements? What in my history would be most appealing to the company, like that. And again, it's a tool. You have to take it with apply human intelligence on top. But it is a good it's a good research assistant. Also, it's kind of self-affirming because you get ChatGPT tell you how good you are. It's like cheaper than therapy.
Yeah, exactly.
So tell me what I'm exceptional at. Like, based on this, tell me what I'm exceptional at.
Yeah, that's the whole new field that I'm so actually excited about, even trying to step my foot into that door, the AI prompt writing. And I'm actually, as soon as I'm settled with something for now, when I have something to pay my rent, I will start taking some courses.
I love the concept of
that's so interesting.
Prompt engineering, because it lies on the interest, especially in creating images. You have to describe your vision in words, so it's an intersection of the language arts and the arts.
Yes.
And it's incredibly powerful, but you have to, it's only as good as what you ask, so you have to focus on it.
And it's a new field, so it's still wide open.
It's wide open.
Yeah.
So prompt engineering is something that has been floating around, but just like with things like customer success, every company has a different understanding of what customer success role is. Every company has different understanding what prompt engineering is. It's so.
I've applied to a couple, and actually I had one interview with one. It's in San Francisco. It's they deal with cybersecurity. And that was one of the best interviews I've had, where somebody was really like interested in me and asking the questions I could manage. But unfortunately they preferred another candidate, and I see why. I could totally see why from the first minutes of that interview. Again, technical background, not so strong in my case. So,
but again, so prompt engineering in some companies, prompt engineering has an emphasis on the word prompt.
Yes.
And some have on the engineering, and you have to figure out which one it is.
Yes. But at least now I know what it looks like and what they ask, and it's not that catastrophic that what I'm missing. So it's not that bad.
And it's not a
I didn't
there's
fail it.
just so many resources out there where you can learn at your own pace. If you have a library card, you can get a Coursera for free, and it has
Udemy. Yeah, but first I need to find something to keep me afloat. I have a question, if I may ask you. So sometimes I just feel that my resume is not selected because I might be overqualified, and this is a very tricky thing, this overqualification. So for example, what I don't change, what I don't customize in my resume is the total number of years, which is 8. And what do you think if they ask for somebody who has like 3, 4, 5 years of experience? Can it be that I'm overqualified? Because what I'm hearing now from the Indian recruiters' perspective, it just drives me crazy. How if they are so
literal.
Что если у него написано 3 года, он видит не 3 года, все, это уже тоже как бы, то есть вообще сейчас не знаешь, что как правильно, как это момент. I will add, I'm sorry, but not to repeat the question again. So the years of experience and my degree, so masters, should I maybe remove it if it's not, or what do you think?
No. I don't put my PhD on the resume, but anything under the terminal degree is fine. It shows that you have the drive and the energy and the mental capacity to learn and to grow. Unless you're applying to like a dishwasher at the Applebee's, then probably skip that. You don't put the months. It just, again, words, extra words. The fact that you left in May is completely irrelevant on your resume. I'm looking at your QA resume.
What do you mean?
Well, you have San Francisco, August 2019, May 2020, 23rd.
Yeah, but that's what everybody is asking them, the months and year of.
If they ask it on the application, it's not because they care. It's because their application's candidate tracking system.
No. When they talk to you already, because I was laid off in May, now it's August, and I already hear that something in the voice when they say, "Hey, it's been 3 months. You have a gap,"
which is why you don't put the months. Don't
if you put the months, they will ask even more questions, and I'm not gonna lie.
Don't overthink it.
Okay.
This is the first pass, right? They look at your resume.
Okay, so remove the months. Okay.
Remove the months. It's extra words. You don't need those words. They're not adding anything. If there is a gap, there is an easy way to explain it, and you're taking time to improve your skills in a particular area, so you're focusing on learning new skill right now.
Я просто уже слышу, как энтузиазм, вот прям вижу, слышу, как личико вытягивается, когда вот были собеседования, скрининги сразу после лей-офф в мае, и когда теперь, вот уже 3 месяца у вас, то есть я уже, вот уже нотка такая в голосе, что уже индусы, им не нравится, они же хотят все по протоколу, а, к сожалению, это 90% звонящих, 90% рекрутингового рынка.
Well, so you can, knowing that the question will come up, you can address it in the cover letter, saying that since I left my last company, I have been spending my time on improving my or adding additional tools, or you're a linguist, you know how to.
I know how to fill it in, but it's just the reaction.
Just like be upfront about it. There will be a question. Answer the question. You're working on this, and you're also volunteering. Just some.
Which is true. Which is, by the way, true. So
I would never recommend lying, because things will come up.
Yeah, that's
9 out of 10, if not 10.
So you recommend not removing the degree, the master's, and
No, I thought no, but looking at the job, that if they're asking for 3 years of experience, what you do is you keep your like the latest, the senior QA job, and then you make a separate section saying additional work experience, and put it in there without dates.
Okay.
So you have 2 sections. One is your latest job that is relevant, and you pick only the kill shots. And then you have a separate heading, additional work experience, and list additional items without a lot of details. Some, like if you have some, if you hit something out of ballpark.
Can it be? I have realized that the market has changed, and now it's very tough, and the conditions have changed since I was looking for a job the last time 4 years ago. But what I noticed is that when I was looking for a job 4 years ago, I had on my resume, I had a couple of projects, but I also had my teaching experience, because I don't like to lie too much. So I had my teaching experience, because I'm obviously not a student, not a not a grad student. So it was obviously seen that I had some job before. So, and I could actually hear more excitement and more interest in me from the recruiters when they were asking, hey, we can see that you have some years of experience that we need. Like at that time, 2-3 years of experience was totally enough. But you also have some exciting experience before in a different field. But can you tell us about that part of your life, and how you moved towards IT? And I had this whole story, the bridge, I call it the bridge, how I came from there to here, and it actually got me many interviews and got me 2 offers within 1 month. And now when I just have my technical background, I don't seem to be interesting anymore. I don't even hear that anybody's interested. I understand that the market is different, but I feel like something is missing, either from me now, because these 4 years were tough on me. Divorce, COVID, everything in my life, I didn't get better. I got worse looking, worse mood kind of person. But in general, I feel like there is something missing from me now, from my resume, from какая-то пропала изюминка, что ли. Может, искра. Ну, искра-то есть, я вот активная такая, я там не это, это уже характер, это никуда не денется, но вот что-то, да, я вот чувствую, что-то мне не хватает, чтобы зацепить. Как вот тогда, как я нашла вообще with flying colors, как говорится. Что сейчас происходит?
There is no doubt that the job market has changed in the last, with the COVID changed everything for everyone. In a good way and a bad way, the all remote workforce, as I said, it's now you're competing with people from, I don't know, Ohio. And if not across the ocean, but even if like US only, it would be,
I was laid off because we switched 90% of technical department switched overseas, and we worked with Argentina and Brazil. And those were people, they started joining, just one person here, one person there. We were onboarding them, and we ended up where they took our jobs. So
when my former husband, who was the QA engineer, when they did the layoff, and I was in the previous doom cycle, They laid him off from Sun Microsystems, and they hired 10 people in India to do his job. Not just his job, but so it's
common. Yeah.
But you have to stand out, and the way to stand out is to find those unique things that you can. And your teaching experience is great to have on your resume, because it gives, and also perhaps even mention it in for some jobs, maybe not for like straightforward QA, but the teaching experience communicates that you have people skills, you have patience, you can explain complex things to people who don't know them. You enjoy working with people, you enjoy helping people succeed. There are just so many layers there that you can bring to the table that is important and valuable. My background in American literature is completely unrelated seemingly to technical support, but in fact it is, and I have a strong narrative explaining why that is really relevant. And to this day, 30 years since I moved to US, I still fall back on my background in humanities, because I understand the human condition. So and that's important, because you work with people.
You think it's worth it to include it?
I would include it, but I would put it on the bottom in the other.
Do they swap, like, for example, this first project of mine, which is from 2015 to 2017, that was like a part-time startup. That's where I started.
Yeah, you can skip it. If it's, unless it's a
because that was during the time I was teaching at Cal State East Bay in Hayward, so it's a college level instruction.
So you can put that.
You think it could work if I put it there?
Yeah. So unless it's a top shelf name, like if the company is really prominent with high name recognition, you want to keep it. Otherwise, anything that's more than like 8 to 10 years, you can just discard.
Maybe that's something that will attract them back to me. Maybe.
No, put the teaching definitely, but just don't use the dates.
Okay.
Just say the job. Remember, I said top shelf. Cal State is top shelf. There is a name recognition. You were teaching at Cal State. That's important. The fact that you were what was that? Localization specialist for Smart Go is not really a big deal.
Yeah, it's a no name that doesn't exist anymore.
And it doesn't add anything to your value. Like every single word counts. Every single word has to be deliver payload. You have only so much to work on, like your little space to deliver the impact, which is why elevator speech is really a relevant concept here. So also you want to reformat your resume so it's linear and not confusing from the formatting point of view.
What do you mean?
Well, maybe it's only the way it came across because I opened it in Google Docs, but on my screen,
it messes up the formatting. It's best to download it always.
But that's not what the applicant tracking system will do. They work with straight text. So the things that will not look good on Google Docs will look even worse in applicant tracking system.
Okay.
So no fonts, no fancy formatting, bullets, bold, used very sparingly, but single column, no.
So just simple format, like we used to do it many years ago in Word, works better.
Well, it doesn't have to be ugly, right? It still has to have
ugly, but just like simple.
Yeah, because it goes through the system. You apply online, it's filtered through a system, and the system doesn't care about your fonts. In fact, it can get confused by the fonts.
Good point.
So simple is better, and use critical main points that each will have to be super loaded with really important. You know how that who was that? Coco Chanel, I think that would put on all her jewelry and then start taking off piece by piece until she has just the right one. Or I think Michelangelo said that the way he created his sculptures, he took a block of marble and then cut out everything unnecessary. So that's the same way you work with Remy. Just cut out anything unnecessary. Like you look at every word, it's like, does it matter? What is the message? If somebody were to remember one thing from after reading your resume, what do you want that one thing to be? And that should be.
Can it be like something more lyrical? I mean, can it be like when you were asking me, what's the thing? What's one thing you're good at? I took a couple of notes.
So for your cover letter, saying that I'm exceptionally good at this is absolutely the right thing to do. On the resume, because it's a delimited format, you have to communicate with the positioning on the page.
No, I mean this one sentence, one phrase, but can it be something less formal?
Yeah, it can be.
Okay.
As long as it's, still within but your narrative in your what's it called? Personal statement at the opening is really long.
Yeah, I need to cut it.
And again, let's just examine. For example, I just pulled up not stressed by the deadlines and long hours worked across multiple time zones.
Ну вот это, кстати, если меня спросить, что я считаю действительно тем, чем можно гордиться, это правда. Потому что я могу работать как та лошадка, я могу 24 часа.
Да, но что нужно employer, чтобы ты работала как лошадка или чтобы ты работала как...
Ну, что я не stressed by deadlines.
Who cares if you're stressed? I'm sorry.
Нет, это они всегда проверяют, ведь очень много...
Проверяют в процессе интервью, безусловно. Безусловно, но если...
В команде такая, так, спокойно, goose rubber.
Is the most important feature that you lead with is that you're not stressed?
Not the most, but
not the most. So let's think what
the important features.
If you are applying to be a firefighter or a I don't know, munitions expert or ER doctor, or actually technical support specialist, then yes, it's a core requirement that you're calm under pressure, that you are not getting stressed. That's a core requirement. Like for the job like that, it is a core requirement. For a QA, grace under pressure is nice, but not the #1 requirement.
Okay.
Unless, again, it's some kind of when you're testing some like mission critical life and death applications, then maybe it is. But that's why you need to think about it. So every single line, every single word matters. Like if they were to remember just one thing, what is that one thing they want to remember? If they have a mental capacity to remember 2 things, what are those 2 things? If they can remember 3 things, what are those 3 things? And I can assure you that grace under pressure is not one of them for this particular job type. Unlike some other job types where it will be, maybe if the job description and the interview with the CEO talks about super high pressure, juggling multiple projects, everything is delivered under the deadline, and it's a life and death situation, delivering, drones to Ukraine. Yes, then maybe you should include that you are working well in a stressful situation, but not as a general statement about yourself.
I see. Okay. Agree.
Also, think of redundancies. So you're saying that passionate about identifying bugs on all levels of software product, including GUI, UX, UI.
That's for keywords, but that's
fine. But then you don't need to say identifying bugs on all levels is extra.
No, там all levels as DLC.
But you already have the GUI, UX, and UI, so you don't need to say all levels because you're already including the levels.
Нет, это другое. Software
Maybe
development,
I'm looking at the wrong line then.
all levels of software development life cycle.
Yeah, but I'm looking at the third line. Passionate about identifying bugs on all levels of the software product, including GUI, UX, UI functionality. So I'm just saying that all levels is not necessary here. That's all I'm saying.
Ну, я не совсем... Как будто бы пропала куда-то часть.
Может быть, вполне возможно. That's what I'm looking at in.
Ну нет, там levels of all levels of soft SDLC должно быть.
I don't see it in my version.
Окей. Ну да, так это тогда doesn't make sense. But thank you for pointing out, okay.
Also, you don't need to say authorized to work in the US.
А вот это мне 5 человек сказали добавить, блин.
Not in the no. Say
Controversy. Я никогда не добавляла. Okay.
You can say it, but not in your most important about me statement. If they have a question, or I wonder if this candidate is authorized for work, they can, hey, puppy, who is that?
He wants to go for a walk if he's looking in the window. It's okay. It's okay.
I already had all my cats walk across my keyboard, so they're telling me that it's their dinner time. So think strategically. If they're interested in whether you're authorized, have that answer. But don't lead with it, because that's not the most important thing about you. There are millions of people in this country authorized to work for this country, in this country, right? So they may have a question because you are foreign born, so that's perfectly legitimate to put in. Are you a citizen?
No,
okay.
Not yet.
Okay, so then authorized to work is fine, and no sponsorship required is redundant. You're authorized. It's binary, like, are you authorized or not? If you're authorized, that's all you need to say. So treasure every single word. If there is something I will keep repeating, is every word matters. Pull out things that also another thing that's really important is show, don't tell. So you're saying that fast learner who is inquisitive and enjoys learning new technologies and challenging concepts. You can, so what? If you can include an example of that in your work product somewhere in your resume, came up to speed on this new technology in half the time allocated, something like that. That shows that you are a quick learner and are inquisitive. So just don't describe something if you can prove it. Unless it's a super important keyword, like we are exclusively hiring people who are curious and inquisitive, then yes, you have to have that.
How I thought of linking it to something hypothetically would be because there are so many tools, and every project, every company has their own tools. So for example, this one, the last project of mine was with Google, and they had everything of their own.
Yeah.
So, and now when I talk to somebody, when I'm going through some screenings, they ask me, hey, are you familiar with this tool? Have you worked with that tool? And sometimes I just say yes, just because you have to say yes. But sometimes I just, when I know the tool they're talking about, but I know it might require a little longer to onboard on that tool, but I just say, hey, look, for example, at my last project, we were working with that tool from Google, which is identical to this tool. So I'm a fast learner. It's going to take me a week or even a day, depends, to get on board.
Yeah,
so
it's not the prediction of future success is the past experience. So instead of saying it will take me a week, you can say in the past I had to learn new, and it took me a week where everybody else was still sitting in the classroom reading manuals, right? It's an example from the past, and that's one of your accomplishments. So that's the nugget that you have to collect in your me folder and write it down and use it strategically. Not what will happen, but what you already have that you bring to the table that they can take advantage of.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. Thank you. That's useful. So like retrospect. Okay. Mhm.
I'll be happy to review your resume if you want to redo it. And if you can find the relevant job posting, I can just do the AI analysis on that for you as an example, and I will send you my the webinar replay once I
Thank
find it.
you.
So hopefully it will be useful. So if you have questions, I'll be happy to answer them. It's not like a paid engagement that I will charge you for a phone call. If down the road you want to work with me on a more formal, we can talk about this, but given that you have very pressing financial concerns, that's a concern for me too.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. That's
Maybe we can work out some kind of a
arranged.
IOU future repayment plan, because
That's exactly what I wanted to suggest. But yeah, so if you could, so I'm gonna what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna revise my resume according to all the advice. I'm sorry, all the advice that I received from you today.
I will send you a transcript so you will have the actual text. Okay, and let's meet again next week.
Yes.
Okay.
Whatever works for you, I appreciate you.
I will send you a couple of options. So hang in there. I know it's tough, but you have a lot to offer, and you have to just be super confident and positive about what is it that makes you uniquely qualified for this role, and why they should just like stop the recruiting process because they have found you. And they will not do this analysis on their own. That's the problem. You have to hit them between the eyes with that message, because they will not connect the dots. Like, oh, I have that in my resume is not a good answer. They should have noticed it already. And I read your resume and I missed that.
It's so hard to compete with so many people.
Don't think about, no, you're not competing with, that's them.
Drop in the ocean, and
That's them. A lot of people, a lot of that number is super inflated, because people are applying for literally everything. And that creates a lot of noise, and that makes life much harder for everybody, for them, for you, for the hiring manager. Oh my God, the recruiter. Can you imagine the amount of work they have to go through? Because people just do this 300 resumes a day, which actually I think should be punishable by law, because it's absolutely the wrong thing to do. And they are destroying the system, trying to get ahead. It's not a numbers game. Trust me, it's not a numbers game. It's the quality game. So if you have quality, you have to demonstrate it, and you will find a job. You don't have to send out 300 resumes a day. In fact, as I said at the beginning, you may not even need to do 20 if you do it the right way. Focusing on your strengths, focusing on why you are the best candidate. Ask ChatGPT to help you realize your self-worth, and think about every single word.
Thank you so much. I will revise it.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. If you have questions in the meantime, feel free to ping me. I will be out of cell phone coverage Friday, Saturday, watching the meteor showers in Central California. But other than that, I'm always on.
That's exciting. Have fun.
It is. Looking forward to that. Hi, Papi. You can go for a walk now.
Thank you so much.
Okay, take care. Pleasure meeting you. Bye-bye.
Likewise. Bye.